The truck market is incredibly important to General Motors, and I think that's why when you look at what we're bringing to the marketplace, we will be the only manufacturer that has both the mid-size trucks, full-size trucks, and heavy-duty trucks.
We've got bad news for Chevy and GM owners. News that could shake the entire foundation of one of America's most iconic automakers. For decades, Chevrolet and General Motors have been symbols of reliability, pride, and performance. But right now, something big is unraveling behind the scenes, and it's not looking good for millions of owners on the road. The problem started small, just a few recalls here and there, some customer complaints piling up. But now, it's snowballed into something that's impossible to ignore. Reports are coming in from across the country of major mechanical issues, skyrocketing maintenance costs, and shocking revelations about GM's latest software updates that are leaving some vehicles completely disabled. And here's the kicker. Many of these issues aren't being covered under warranty. Owners who bought their Chevy Silverado, Tahoe, or Equinox, thinking they'd have a dependable daily driver, are now finding themselves stuck with repair bills that stretch into the thousands. From transmission failures to electrical glitches that shut down entire dashboards, it's becoming a nightmare for loyal customers who trusted GM to stand behind their vehicles. But instead of solutions, they're getting silence, or worse, vague corporate statements blaming supply chain shortages and software anomalies. Even dealers are frustrated. Service departments are overwhelmed with backlogged repair orders, waiting weeks or even months for replacement parts that just aren't arriving. Some Chevy owners say their vehicles have been sitting at dealerships for months, untouched, because GM can't deliver the necessary components. It's gotten so bad that a growing number of frustrated customers are demanding full buybacks through state lemon laws. And here's where it gets even more concerning. GM's shift toward fully digital, software-dependent vehicles means that these problems could multiply fast. The company is pushing updates over the air, but these updates are sometimes bricking infotainment systems, resetting driver profiles, and in rare cases disabling key safety functions. Technicians have called it a ticking time bomb because every update could either fix or completely break your vehicle. But the storm doesn't stop there. Recent data suggests that the resale value of certain GM models has started to plunge, especially used Silverados and Blazers. Dealers are quietly lowering trade-in offers because buyers are becoming wary of potential tech issues. Even GM's massive push toward EVs, like the Silverado EV and Blazer EV, is now facing scrutiny after reports of charging malfunctions and range inconsistencies that don't match the company's official claims. Behind closed doors, GM executives are scrambling to keep public confidence intact. They know that one more major recall or a viral customer complaint could seriously damage their already fragile reputation. Remember, this is the same company that went bankrupt back in 2009, needed billions in government bailouts, and then spent years rebuilding consumer trust. Now, history seems to be repeating itself, and this time, the problems are far more complicated. What's even worse is how GM's aggressive cost-cutting measures are now backfiring. Insiders have revealed that GM outsourced several critical electronic and sensor components to overseas suppliers to save money. But those same suppliers are now struggling with reliability and production consistency. That's why you're seeing a wave of issues that all trace back to faulty chips, malfunctioning cameras, and glitchy sensors, especially in newer models with advanced driver assist systems. And if you think this only affects a handful of unlucky owners, think again. Industry analysts are warning that this could be the beginning of a broader crisis for GM's entire lineup. The combination of unreliable hardware, rushed software rollouts, and frustrated dealerships is setting the stage for something much bigger. A credibility collapse that could cost GM billions and push loyal Chevy owners toward competitors like Ford, Toyota, and Ram. But the real question everyone's asking right now is, how did it get this bad? And what does it mean for the future of one of America's biggest car companies? Well, to understand how we got here, we need to look at the internal decisions GM made over the past few years. When the global chip shortage hit, GM prioritized production of its most profitable models, full-size trucks and SUVs, over reliability and quality control. That meant corners were cut, software testing was rushed, and vehicles were pushed out the door just to keep the numbers looking good for shareholders. But now, the consequences are catching up fast. Technicians are saying that many of the new Chevy and GM models are built with systems so tightly integrated that one small software glitch can knock out half the vehicle's electronics. For example, a simple error in the body control module can disable the backup camera, parking sensors, and even power steering in some cases. Owners have reported sudden shutdowns on highways, unresponsive gear selectors, and frozen instrument clusters. All issues that dealerships admit are nearly impossible to diagnose without waiting for a GM engineer to provide remote access. And this isn't just a random wave of bad luck. It's a sign that GM's entire technological foundation is cracking under pressure. While the company boasts about building the vehicles of the future, its current models are struggling to handle the demands of modern software ecosystems. Updates are being rolled out faster than the hardware can handle, and customers are paying the price. Some GM techs have even leaked internal memos, warning that certain updates should not be installed unless a customer specifically requests them, because they can cause cascading system errors. Meanwhile, GM's customer support lines are overwhelmed. Owners are calling for help, only to be told that their local dealer must await a technical bulletin before repairs can begin. Some of these bulletins take weeks to release, leaving thousands of cars stranded with no clear fix. It's reached the point where independent mechanics are turning away GM vehicles altogether, saying they can't access the proprietary diagnostic systems without expensive manufacturer subscriptions. And here's the part that's really got people furious. GM's push to go all in on electric and connected vehicles means traditional mechanical reliability is being overshadowed by digital dependency. That means even something as simple as a dead battery or lost internet connection can lock you out of your car or disable basic features. Owners of the new Chevy Blazer EV have reported software lockouts, where their cars refuse to start until they're rebooted through an app or after a long wait period. Imagine spending over $50,000 on a brand new vehicle and having to reboot it like a frozen smartphone. At the same time, GM's relationship with its dealerships is beginning to fracture. Dealers are privately venting that GM is forcing them into EV infrastructure investments while the vehicles themselves are plagued with issues that drive customers away. Many rural dealers who've sold Chevy trucks for generations are questioning if it's even worth staying under the GM brand anymore. One dealer in Texas even told local news that his lot is full of broken vehicles and empty promises. Now add to that the growing frustration among fleet owners, businesses that rely on Chevy vans, Silverados, and Tahoes for daily operations. These fleets are reporting more downtime than ever before due to component shortages and digital failures. For some companies, a truck sitting in a service bay for months isn't just an inconvenience, it's a financial disaster. GM's inability to keep these workhorses reliable is pushing fleets to shift toward Ford's and Toyota's platforms, further eroding GM's long-standing market share dominance. And it's not just reliability, it's the public trust that's starting to vanish. Social media platforms are flooded with videos of angry Chevy owners showcasing their dashboard lights flickering, their transmissions jerking, or their brand new EVs refusing to charge. Hashtags like #WhyChevyFail and #GMRecall have started trending multiple times this year. And while GM tries to downplay it, those videos are going viral faster than their marketing team can spin damage control. But here's where things start to look truly dangerous for the future of GM. The company's once loyal fan base, the blue-collar Americans who proudly bought Chevy trucks for generations, are now feeling betrayed. They're seeing quality drop, costs rise, and trust disappear. And if GM doesn't act fast, those customers may never come back. Because loyalty in the auto world isn't something you can buy back once it's gone. It's earned, over decades, through trust, consistency, and pride of ownership. And right now, Chevy and GM are burning through that goodwill at a frightening pace. The people who once swore by their Silverado or Malibu are now switching to Ford, Toyota, or even newcomers like Rivian and Tesla, not because they want to, but because they have to. They're tired of recalls, tired of waiting for parts, and tired of feeling like unpaid beta testers for GM's tech experiments. But here's the hidden layer that most people aren't seeing. GM's financial situation might be far more fragile than they're letting on. While they keep touting big EV ambitions and flashy new models, the company has quietly been slashing costs behind the scenes. Suppliers are reporting late payments, budgets for R&D have been trimmed, and insider leaks suggest that GM's internal cost-saving measures are now cutting into essential quality control steps. The same thing happened in the years leading up to GM's 2009 bankruptcy, and it's eerily familiar. Meanwhile, GM's massive bet on electric vehicles isn't paying off the way they expected. The Ultium battery platform, which was supposed to be their game-changer, has been hit with delay after delay. Factories can't ramp up fast enough, and many EVs that were promised to hit the market this year have been pushed back or produced in extremely limited numbers. Customers who placed orders months ago are now canceling in frustration, and when they do finally get their vehicles, early reports show software instability, range issues, and unreliable charging experiences. And yet, GM keeps doubling down, pouring billions into EV production while neglecting the vehicles that built their reputation in the first place. The dependable gas-powered trucks and SUVs that Americans rely on are being phased out, even though the company isn't ready to fully support an all-electric transition. It's a risky move that could leave both sides of their customer base unhappy: the traditionalists who want reliability and the tech-savvy buyers who expect innovation that actually works. Dealers have been sounding the alarm, saying customers are walking away mid-purchase because they don't trust GM's new systems. Some even refuse to take certain models in on trade-ins because they're worried they'll sit unsold for months. That's a massive warning sign. When your own dealers start losing confidence, that's not a marketing problem. It's a brand collapse in slow motion. And yet, GM's leadership seems disconnected from the reality their customers are facing. Instead of addressing the growing wave of complaints, the company's executives are focused on making headlines about autonomous future mobility, digital ecosystems, and sustainable innovation. But the average Chevy owner doesn't care about buzzwords. They care about whether their car will start in the morning and get them to work without the check engine light coming on. It's this growing divide between GM's corporate ambitions and their customers' real-world experiences that's fueling a silent rebellion. Mechanics, dealers, and longtime owners are forming online communities warning each other about recurring issues, unreliable systems, and what to avoid when buying a new GM vehicle. These groups are growing fast, and they're painting a devastating picture of a company that's lost touch with the people who built it. But the worst may still be ahead. Analysts are now warning that if GM doesn't fix these problems immediately, it could face a wave of class action lawsuits, warranty disputes, and another massive recall that could cost billions. And with the economy tightening, interest rates rising, and consumer confidence slipping, this couldn't come at a worse time for the automaker. So now, the question becomes, will GM finally take responsibility and make things right for its owners? Or will it double down on the same mistakes that already brought it to the edge once before? Because right now, everything points to a dangerous crossroads for GM, a point where one wrong decision could spiral into another full-blown crisis. Insiders say internal tensions are at an all-time high. Engineers are reportedly frustrated that their warnings about software instability and component reliability are being ignored by upper management in the rush to meet deadlines. Some have even leaked that certain vehicles were pushed into production despite known issues, just so GM could claim on-time delivery. That might satisfy investors in the short term, but for customers, it's a ticking time bomb. And that bomb is already starting to go off. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has reportedly been monitoring a growing number of complaints involving GM's latest SUVs and EVs. There have been reports of sudden power loss at high speeds, steering malfunctions, and electrical fires, issues that are serious enough to spark investigations if they continue to rise. If the NHTSA launches a formal probe, it could be devastating, not just financially, but reputationally. The last thing GM needs right now is another massive recall that puts headlines like GM safety crisis back in the spotlight. The irony here is that GM spent the past decade rebuilding its image after the ignition switch scandal that killed more than 100 people and led to billions in penalties. Back then, GM promised it had learned its lesson. They vowed to put safety and quality above everything else. But judging by the current wave of problems, it looks like history is repeating itself. And that promise might have been nothing more than PR talk. Even Wall Street is starting to take notice. GM's stock, which once looked strong thanks to its EV future narrative, is under pressure. Analysts are lowering expectations, warning that profit margins could shrink as warranty claims skyrocket and consumer trust erodes. Some even believe GM may have overextended itself with its EV commitments, investing billions in factories and battery plants that might not deliver the returns they hoped for. But while investors are watching numbers, real people are living through the fallout. Families relying on their Chevy Equinoxes are struggling with sudden breakdowns. Small businesses with fleets of Silverado trucks are losing contracts because their vehicles can't stay on the road. And all the while, GM's response has been a mix of technical jargon and corporate deflection. Instead of owning up to the scope of the problem, they're pushing vague promises of future updates and customer care initiatives. It's this disconnect that's angering owners the most. They don't want futuristic jargon. They want results. They want to feel that the company they've supported for generations actually cares about them. But the truth is, many feel abandoned. It's no longer about brand loyalty. It's about survival. People can't afford to gamble on unreliable vehicles in today's satisfied GM owners, offering trade-in bonuses and loyalty discounts to lure them away. It's a ruthless move, but an effective one. Every frustrated Chevy driver who switches brands is another dent in GM's armor. But what's truly alarming is that this problem is no longer isolated to consumer vehicles. GM's commercial and government contracts are beginning to feel the strain too. Several municipalities that rely on GM trucks for public works and utility fleets have reported higher downtime and maintenance costs, forcing them to reconsider future purchases. That's a direct hit to one of GM's most stable revenue sources, and it shows how deep this issue really goes. So the question everyone's asking now is this: can GM actually recover from this storm? Or is the company heading toward another collapse, one that could shake the entire American auto industry? Because if this spiral continues, GM could find itself standing on the same shaky ground it did more than a decade ago. Only this time, there might not be a bailout to save it. Back in 2009, the government stepped in because GM was too big to fail, a cornerstone of American manufacturing. But today, the landscape has changed. With new EV startups flooding the market, foreign automakers expanding in the US, and consumer trust wavering, GM may not get a second rescue. The company has to fix this fast, or risk losing everything it rebuilt over the past 15 years. Insiders are saying that GM's internal morale is collapsing too. Assembly line workers are frustrated, engineers are burned out, and dealers are feeling betrayed. Many are quietly saying that communication from the top has never been worse. When employees start losing faith in leadership, that's when cracks turn into fractures. Several reports even suggest that production quality is slipping in plants as workers rush to meet impossible deadlines, resulting in vehicles rolling off the line with unresolved defects that later turn into costly recalls. And the customers? They're starting to talk with their wallets. Sales data from multiple regions show a worrying trend. Chevy's market share is slipping, especially in the pickup and SUV segments where they've traditionally dominated. Meanwhile, competitors like Ford and Ram are aggressively targeting Chevy's base, launching ads that highlight their reliability, their dealer support, and their no-excuses approach to customer service. Even Toyota's full-size trucks, once a distant competitor, are gaining traction among former Chevy loyalists who just want something that works. But the deeper problem isn't just mechanical, it's strategic. GM has spread itself too thin, trying to be everything at once: an EV pioneer, a tech company, a legacy automaker, and a global brand. Instead of perfecting one area, they've created chaos in all of them. The push to digitalize every aspect of the car experience, from app-controlled features to driver assist technology, has introduced layers of complexity that the company simply can't manage. In their race to appear futuristic, they forgot the basic principle that made GM great in the first place: build vehicles people can depend on. And it's not like customers are asking for miracles. They just want reliability, affordability, and honesty. Yet GM keeps releasing vehicles that are overcomplicated, overpriced, and under-delivering. The average cost of a new Chevy truck now hovers around $60,000, while average Americans are struggling with higher interest rates, higher insurance premiums, and shrinking disposable income. Combine that with reliability issues, and it's no surprise that many customers are walking away altogether. Meanwhile, GM's leadership continues to promise that better things are coming, citing massive investments in next-generation battery plants and autonomous driving projects. But here's the truth. Most of those projects are years away from profitability, and they're draining cash fast. GM stockholders are getting nervous, and so are their partners. Some suppliers have even started diversifying away from GM contracts, afraid the company might cut production or delay payments. And all of this is happening while consumer confidence in the entire EV market is cooling down. Range anxiety, high prices, and charging infrastructure issues are scaring off potential buyers. Yet GM has committed almost its entire future to that same uncertain market. It's a high-risk gamble, and if it doesn't pay off, the fallout could be catastrophic. Even longtime GM enthusiasts, the die-hard fans who defend the brand online and at car shows, are starting to admit something feels different now. The soul of GM, the pride that came with driving a Chevy or a Cadillac, is fading. What used to symbolize American craftsmanship and power is now associated with recalls, software bugs, and corporate spin. And once that emotional connection is gone, it's almost impossible to rebuild. And that's where things stand right now. GM at a breaking point, Chevy owners losing faith, and the auto industry watching closely to see whether this giant will stumble again or finally get its act together. The company that once symbolized American strength and innovation is now fighting to hold on to its legacy. If you're a GM or Chevy owner, this isn't just news, it's a wake-up call. The problems we're seeing today could determine the future of every vehicle rolling off their assembly lines in the years ahead. And unless GM starts listening to its customers, fixing its broken systems, and focusing on reliability over hype, the fall could be far greater than anyone expects. So, what do you think? Can GM turn things around, or is this the beginning of another collapse that will shake the entire auto industry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you found this video informative, subscribe for more real automotive updates, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the truth behind what's really happening in the car world. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and as always, drive safe. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn, because some of GM's newest moves suggest that the company might already know it's in trouble, and they're trying to cover it up before the public realizes just how deep the problem runs.